Today, we're starting with a paradox, something that feels really central to modern life, and I bet it resonates with a lot of you listening. Just think about it for a sec. We are absolutely swimming in entertainment.
Right, more connected, supposedly. More stimulation, definitely. Instant gratification, it's everywhere. More than any generation before us, way more. And yet, and this is the paradox, feelings of emptiness, this kind of background anxiety, even, clinical depression, they're not just there, they're skyrocketing. It's quite stark. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if the very things, the conveniences, the pleasures, all the stuff designed to make us happy, what if it's actually undermining us? Maybe even, kind of, destroying our ability to feel genuinely happy? That's the big question today. We're taking a deep dive into what we're calling the pleasure trap. We're going to explore how our brains, these incredibly complex things, are being, hijacked.
Subtly, maybe, but powerfully, by all these engineered delights thrown at us constantly. And look, this isn't just about saying no to things. It's deeper than that. It's about reclaiming your cognitive liberty, understanding what real fulfillment actually feels like, rediscovering a deeper, more sustainable joy. Not just being busy, but being truly alive. And for this journey, we've pulled together some really fascinating sources, a real mix. We'll be looking at the latest neuroscience, what's happening in the brain chemically, but also ancient philosophical wisdom. How have people thought about this for centuries? And spiritual teachings, too, exploring the nature of bliss, of meaning. We're talking about Aldous Huxley's warnings from, almost a century ago now. They seem incredibly relevant today.
Eerily so, yeah.
Right. And alongside that, insights from thinkers like P.R. Sarkar and Sri Anandamurtiji, who really dive deep into what happiness truly is.
It's not just theory either. It's about understanding what's happening inside us right now, in our brains, our hearts, and what options we actually have if we, choose to look.
So our mission today, for you listening, is pretty clear. First, help you understand the mechanisms, the hidden gears behind this pleasure trap. Then, help you spot it in your own life. Those little pulls, those habits you might not even question. And most importantly, equip you with perspectives, strategies, real tools to break free. It's about building a life with deeper meaning, genuine satisfaction, not just chasing the next fleeting high that, let's be honest, often leaves you wanting more. Ready to unpack this?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with something that might feel familiar, maybe even uncomfortably so, but the scale of it is, it's startling. Your phone. The average person, right now, checks their phone 96 times a day.
96? Wow.
Yeah, think about that. That's like once every 10 minutes you're awake. Tapping, swiping, scrolling. It's almost automatic, isn't it? Like a reflex.
It really feels that way sometimes. An extension of our hand.
Exactly. So, from a brain perspective, what's actually going on with every single one of those checks?
It's a really good question, and the science is, it's quite clear, maybe a little alarming. Every single time, every notification ping, every swipe through that feed, it triggers the exact same neural pathways in your brain as, say, cocaine.
Wow, okay. Not just similar, the same pathways.
The very same reward circuitry. It's not hyperbole. It's what brain imaging shows us. Your brain's reward system, driven by dopamine, doesn't really make a huge distinction. It just registers reward, hit. And just like with those drugs, your brain adapts. Pretty quickly, actually. You build up a tolerance. That first little buzz from a notification, it gets weaker over time. So what happens then?
You need more.
Exactly. You need more stimulation, more distraction, more pleasure, quote unquote, just to feel the same thing. Or maybe just to feel normal. It becomes this escalating cycle. We're constantly chasing that next tiny dopamine burst.
Dr. Anna Lemke from Stanford, she's a leading addiction expert. She calls our current situation the dopamine economy.
The dopamine economy, that really paints a picture. Like our brains are trading in these little hits.
Precisely. We're not just consuming content, we're consuming dopamine. And our brains are wired to seek it out.
And this whole setup, this dopamine economy, it's not like it just happened by accident, right? I mean, Aldous Huxley was writing about something very similar way back in 1932.
Absolutely. His book, Brave New World, it's astonishingly prescient. He imagined this society controlled not by force, but by happiness. Engineered happiness, where people would basically trade their freedom for comfort, where pleasure itself becomes the chains. He thought it was sci-fi, a warning. But looking around now...
It feels less like fiction and more like, a documentary sometimes. It really does. And what makes it even more disturbing are the parallels we see in laboratory research. It grounds Huxley's vision in some stark biological reality. Think about this. Studies with lab rats. When they're given unlimited access to cocaine, they'll press that lever again and again. They'll choose the drug over food, over water, even over their own young. They'll do it until they die.
That's horrifying.
It is. Now, here's the kicker. When researchers studied human brains interacting with social media, they found the exact same patterns, the same reward pathways lighting up, the same compulsive seeking behavior. Now, it's not a perfect analogy. Humans are more complex, but the underlying addiction mechanism, strikingly similar. And this wasn't an accident of design. It was intentional.
Intentional. You mean they knew it would be addictive?
Oh, absolutely. Many former tech executives have openly admitted it. They designed these systems to be addictive. They didn't just hope people would like them. They engineered compulsion. They literally studied casinos, copied the psychological mechanics of slot machines, that variable reward schedule, the maybe this time feeling, and applied those tricks directly to your phone.
Wow. Studying casinos to design social media.
Yep. It's calculated. It's deliberate. It's about exploiting our psychology.
That admission is just chilling. The idea that it wasn't just about engagement, but designed addiction.
Exactly. Sean Parker, who was Facebook's founding president, he was incredibly blunt about it. He said the goal was, and I'm quoting loosely here, to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while. He called it a social validation feedback loop. And then he said something really revealing. It's exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology.
Exploiting a vulnerability, that's strong language.
It is. It shows it wasn't about connection in the purest sense. It was about leveraging our deep-seated need for validation against us, creating this loop, this craving that keeps us hooked. It's understanding human nature and, frankly, weaponizing it for engagement metrics.
Okay, so let's broaden this out. Because, as you've laid out, this isn't just about phones and social media, right? It feels like this instant gratification model has spread everywhere. Our whole society is kind of set up this way now.
That's a crucial point. It's systemic. It goes way beyond the screen.
Yeah, think about, like, fast food. It's not just convenient. It's engineered, isn't it? Those specific combinations of salt, sugar, fat, they're designed to hit pleasure centers hard and fast.
Right. They override your natural signals that say, I'm full. Your brain keeps saying more, even when your body has had enough. It's designed for craving, not for nutrition.
And dating apps, too. They promise connection, but the interface, swipe, 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 it turns people into commodities, almost like a slot machine.
And paradoxically, often leads to more loneliness, right? So many options, but less depth. It's the paradox of choice playing out in relationships.
Exactly. Or streaming services, that autoplay function, it just rolls into the next episode, then the next.
Yeah, removes the pause, the decision point.
Yeah.
Keeps you locked in. Hours can just vanish.
And online shopping, one click, next day delivery, the waiting, the anticipation, it's almost gone. Instant purchase, instant arrival.
It eliminates that space for consideration, for desire to even mature.
So all these things, the engineered food, the endless swiping, the autoplay, the one-click buy, neuroscientists have a term for this, right? Supernormal stimuli.
Exactly. Supernormal stimuli. They're artificial rewards, way more intense, way more readily available than anything our brains evolved to handle. Our ancestors, they lived in a world of scarcity. They had to work for months for a harvest. They might court a partner for years. Crafting a tool took time, skill, patience.
Right. Effort was required for reward. Delayed gratification was just life.
Precisely. Today, food arrives in minutes. Sex, for some, is a swipe away. Entertainment is infinite, on demand, requires zero effort. And our brains, designed for that older world of scarcity and effort, they just can't cope. They get overwhelmed.
Leaving us always wanting the next hit because the last one never truly satisfies.
That's the trap. The highs are fleeting, tolerance builds, and the baseline feeling becomes kind of empty. And the cost isn't just feeling a bit empty, it's measurable, physically measurable. Brain scans actually show that people who consistently chase instant gratification often have a physically smaller prefrontal cortex.
Smaller, that sounds bad. What does the prefrontal cortex do again?
It's your brain CEO, basically, responsible for executive functions. Self-control, planning, willpower, delaying gratification. It's what helps you make good long-term choices instead of just reacting impulsively. So when that area shrinks or is less active, well, the consequences aren't surprising.
Okay, like what?
People become more prone to impulse control issues.
Yeah.
They're statistically more likely to be obese, struggle with debt, experience higher rates of divorce, and suffer from depression and anxiety. They literally have less neurological capacity to resist those immediate urges. It's not just a lack of willpower, it's a change in brain structure and function.
Wow, that's significant. It changes how you think about things like addiction or poor choices.
It really does. And here's maybe the darkest twist in this, connecting back to the design aspect.
Oh boy. What now?
We know that many Silicon Valley executives, the people who built these platforms, they send their own kids to tech-free schools.
Yeah.
Waldorf schools, Montessori schools with strict limits on screen time.
Wait, seriously, the creators don't let their own kids use the stuff they push on everyone else?
Often, yes. They know exactly what these technologies can do, especially to developing brains. They understand the addictive potential, the impact on focus. It's a stark case of don't get high on your own supply, apply to technology.
That is deeply disturbing. It just makes Huxley's warning feel even more real. That idea of soma, the drug in Brave New World.
It maps almost perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In Huxley's world, soma kept the population happy, docile, distracted. A gram is better than a damn. Pleasure was the opiate of the masses, preventing them from questioning anything.
And today, soma.
It's not one drug, it's multifaceted. It's the endless scroll on your phone, binge-watching shows until 3 a.m., the hyper-palatable junk food, easily accessible pornography, the instant rush of online shopping.
Twin delivery systems, same effect?
Largely, yes. The result is similar. A population that can be too sedated by constant, easy pleasure to question things deeply. Too comfortable, maybe, to push for real change or meaning, trapped by convenience.
Yeah.
And look at the impact on our ability to focus. The stats are just staggering. Back in 2000, the average human attention span was supposedly around 12 seconds.
Okay.
By 2015, it had dropped to 8 seconds. Less than a goldfish, famously.
Less than a goldfish, wow.
And research from Microsoft found that heavy smartphone users, they struggled to focus on a single task for more than about 40 seconds before feeling that pull, that urge to switch.
40 seconds. That's barely enough time to start thinking about something properly.
Exactly. Our attention is fragmented. We're constantly hopping from one stimulus to another. No depth, no sustained thought. This leads philosopher Byung-Chul Han to call our era the burnout society. But here's his twist. We're exhausted not from oppression, like in the past, but from the sheer weight of endless possibility.
Too many choices.
Too many choices, too much pressure to perform, to optimize, to experience everything. This abundance doesn't liberate us, it paralyzes us. We become satisficers, as psychologists call it. We just grab the easiest, quickest pleasure available rather than investing the effort for something truly optimal or deeply fulfilling. The sheer volume of options, combined with our fractured attention, traps us in this cycle of superficial engagement and low-level dissatisfaction. It's like running on a hamster wheel of distraction.
Okay, so this is where it starts to shift, I think, where we look for a way out. Because most people caught in this daily chase, they miss something absolutely critical, don't they? This difference between real pleasure and, well, cheap pleasure.
That's a crucial distinction. It's not just semantics. It's fundamental to understanding well-being.
And it's not a new idea either. The ancient Greeks were already talking about this centuries ago. They had different words for it.
Right. They talked about hedonia and eudaimonia.
Okay, break those down. Hedonia is?
Hedonia is that immediate, often fleeting pleasure. Eating candy, watching something mindless, getting that quick buzz. It usually requires very little effort from us.
And the downside.
It often leaves us feeling empty afterwards, or even a bit guilty, like a sugar crash, intense, but short-lived and maybe not great for you long-term.
Okay, so that's hedonia. What about eudaimonia?
Yeah.
Sounds grander.
It is. Eudaimonia is often translated as human flourishing or the good life. It's a deeper, more sustainable sense of well-being. Think about the satisfaction of growing your own vegetables, mastering a difficult piece of music after months of practice, building a really strong, supportive relationship.
Things that take effort, sometimes struggle.
Exactly. They require effort, patience, sometimes overcoming obstacles. But the payoff, they build us up. They contribute to our growth, our sense of purpose, our long-term contentment.
And the problem today is
Modern society has kind of weaponized hedonia against eudaimonia. We're constantly offered the easy, fleeting pleasure of the candy, and it distracts us from cultivating the garden, from doing the work that leads to deeper flourishing. We've prioritized the quick fix.
that Greek distinction really sets the stage, and Eastern wisdom takes this even deeper, right? Looking at the illusion of pleasure itself. P.R. Sarkar had some powerful insights here.
He did. He argued that what we often call pleasure, whether it's physical sensations or those quick digital hits from social media, is often just dopamine tricking our brains. Our reward pathways get overstimulated, which leads to dependency, tolerance, and ultimately feeling emptier, not fuller.
He connected this to a concept called avidya.
Yes, avidya. It basically means ignorance, but specifically mistaking the impermanent for permanent, the impure for pure, and pain for pleasure. It's this fundamental illusion that keeps us trapped. And he used this incredible parable to illustrate it, the dog chewing on a dry bone.
Yes, I remember reading this. Tell us about it.
So imagine a dog finds a dry, brittle bone. There's no meat, no marrow, no actual sustenance left in it, but the dog starts chewing it obsessively. As it chews, the sharp bone fragments cut its gums and they start to bleed. The dog tastes its own blood, but it mistakenly thinks the delicious taste is coming from the bone.
Oh, wow.
So driven by this illusion, it chews harder and harder, hurting itself more and more, convinced it's getting something wonderful, when in reality, it's just damaging itself and tasting its own suffering.
That's a brutal analogy, but powerful. How does it relate to us?
Sarkar argues we do the same thing. We mistake our brain's self-generated dopamine kick, that internal chemical reaction, for real external happiness or fulfillment. We keep chasing the bone, the phone notification, the junk food, the endless stream, not realizing we're exhausting ourselves, depleting our resources, and becoming slaves to this illusion. It's a self-deception that fuels the pleasure trap.
So we're like that dog, mistaking the feeling of chewing for actual nourishment. And this leads to that state you mentioned earlier, wanting without liking.
Precisely. You find yourself compulsively doing something, scrolling, eating, watching, not because you genuinely enjoy it anymore or because it brings lasting satisfaction, but because your rewired brain demands it. The craving persists even when the pleasure has faded. It's the hallmark of addiction, driven by that illusion, that avidya.
Okay, that dog analogy is really sticking with me. It makes you question so many of our automatic behaviors. So if that kind of fleeting, dopamine-driven pleasure is often an illusion, what about those really intense, profound experiences people sometimes describe as ecstasy? Is that different?
That's a fantastic question, and it brings us to another crucial comparison. Let's contrast what we could call substance ecstasy with something like Sufi ecstasy. They sound similar, maybe aiming for a peak state, but they are worlds apart in method, purpose, and outcome.
Okay, substance ecstasy first. That seems straightforward.
Right. This is using psychoactive substances, drugs, high levels of alcohol, etc., to induce euphoria, altered states, maybe heightened sensations. The primary goal is usually that fleeting pleasure, or perhaps escape, trying to numb pain or avoid reality for a while.
And the downsides are pretty well known.
Very well known. Addiction, physical and psychological dependence, serious health risks, potential legal trouble. Often, it leaves people worse off, more disconnected, with their capacity for natural joy eroded. The high is temporary. The potential damage can be long-lasting.
Okay, so that's the substance route. Now, Sufi ecstasy, that sounds very different. What is that?
Sufi ecstasy, often called waji in Arabic, is a spiritual experience. It's described as this deep, overwhelming sense of connection, of love, of unity with the divine, with existence itself. And crucially, it's not achieved through chemicals. It comes through dedicated, sustained internal practices.
Like what?
Things like devotional practices, deep meditation, chanting, sometimes specific types of music like qawwali, which are designed to induce this state, and rigorous spiritual disciplines focused on purifying the self, on inner transformation.
And the purpose isn't just a quick high?
Not at all. The purpose is spiritual growth, self-realization. The aim is to transcend the ego, the limited self, and experience enlightenment, lasting inner peace, spiritual evolution. It's about dissolving the self into something larger, what they might call fun.
So the methods are completely opposite, external chemicals versus internal discipline.
Diametrically opposed. And so are the consequences. One path often leads towards harm, dependence, and a deeper inner void. The other path is seen as positive, transformative, leading to greater well-being, insight, and a lasting connection.
It really throws that distinction between chasing a chemical high and cultivating an inner state into sharp relief, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It shows that not all intense experiences are the same. Some are traps that deplete you. Others are gateways to genuine liberation and enduring fulfillment. It tells us there's a profound difference in the quality and source of our peak experiences.
That distinction is incredibly helpful. It really clarifies the difference between external fixes and internal cultivation. Now, to get even more specific about the mechanics of this deeper state, let's explore Sri Anandamurtiji's ideas on Sukham and Anandam, these Sanskrit terms. They're often translated as pleasure and bliss, but it seems there's more nuance there.
Much more nuance. They offer a really precise framework for understanding our experiences and desires, going beyond simple English equivalents.
Okay, so where does he start? He has this definition of pleasure and pain.
Yes, a foundational definition. Anukula vedanyam sukham,
Yeah.
pratikula vedanyam dukkam.
Which means?
Roughly, pleasure, sukham, is that which is agreeable. Anukula. Pain, dukkam, is that which is disagreeable. Pratikula.
Okay, agreeable and disagreeable. That sounds relative.
Exactly the point. It highlights the relativity. What's agreeable to you might be disagreeable to me. Think of music taste, food preferences. The external stimulus might be the same, but our internal response dictates pleasure or pain.
So it depends on the person.
Depends on two key things, according to Anandamurti. Your sanskara, which are your innate tendencies, your deep-seated mental patterns, kind of like your psychological blueprint, and your manas taranga, your mental wave, your current mood or state of mind.
So my built-in preferences plus my mood right now determine if something feels good or bad.
Precisely. It's the interaction between the external world and your unique internal landscape.
He explains this using waves, right? Everything has a wave.
Yes, every object, every feeling generates its own kind of wave or vibration. When the wave from an external object resonates, when it has parallelism with your own mental wave, you experience sukham, pleasure. If there's no resonance, no parallelism, you experience dukkam, pain, or disagreeableness.
Can you give an example? He used a pretty stark one.
He did. He used the example of a vibhatsa, a horrible or gruesome sight like a dead body. For most people, the waves generated by such a sight don't resonate positively with their mental waves. The natural reaction is repulsion, looking away. It's pratikula.
Disagreeable, right.
But, and this shows the relativity again, for someone with different sanskara or in a different mental state, perhaps a pathologist doing their job, or someone with a morbid curiosity, the experience might be different. It might be anukula in a specific context, or at least not provoke the same level of dukkam. It depends entirely on that internal tuning.
Okay, that relativity is key. And this leads him to a really surprising claim about our most fundamental drive.
Yes, this is crucial. Sukhanurakti paramajabi virti. The desire for pleasure, sukham, is the supreme biological urge.
Wait, supreme, more important than the urge to survive.
That's the claim. He argues it's not the desire to live that's primary, but the desire for sukham. People do everything, ultimately, to attain agreeable experiences. And if living consistently brings only dukkam, only pain and disagreeableness, that desire for sukham can become so frustrated that, in extreme cases, the desire to live fades. It suggests our core motivation is the quality of experience, not just existence itself.
Wow, okay. That reframes a lot. So if sukham is this relative, fleeting, agreeable feeling, what's anandam then? How do we get from one to the other?
Here's the transition. When the quantity of sukham becomes infinite, then it is called anandam.
Infinite pleasure becomes bliss. Is it just more and more pleasure?
Not exactly more in a simple additive way. It's a qualitative transformation. Imagine pleasure as waves on an ocean. Anandam isn't just a bigger wave, it's the entire ocean becoming calm, boundless, infinite. It transcends the ups and downs, the relativity of ordinary sukham. It's a different state altogether. Boundless. And this wave metaphor is actually central to understanding the nature of this shift from sukham to anandam. It's quite elegant, really. Anandamurtiji explains that every object, every thought has taranga, waves, with a specific wavelength. Gross physical things have short, choppy wavelengths. More subtle things, like thoughts or refined emotions, have longer wavelengths.
Okay, gross means short waves. Subtle means long waves. Got it.
Now, what happens is something becomes infinitely subtle, its wavelength becomes infinitely long. And what happens to a wave when its length becomes infinite? It stops being a wave, it can't curve anymore, it becomes a straight line.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Infinite wavelength equals a straight line.
Exactly. And this flow of anandam, this state of bliss, is characterized by that infinite straight line. It's direct, unwavering, boundless.
So our everyday thoughts and feelings are like these curved, finite waves, constantly changing. But anandam is this infinite straight flow. That's a powerful image. But how on earth do you straighten your mental waves? They feel inherently wazy.
That's the core of spiritual practice, or sadhana, as he describes it. Man's sadhana is to straighten these mental waves. The process involves bhavana, which means ideation or deep contemplation. And how is it possible? Because the mind has this incredible property. It takes on the quality of whatever it focuses on intently. It's object of ideation, or bhavya.
You become what you think about.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The mind molds itself to its object of focus. So if the object of your deepest ideation is Paramatma, the supreme consciousness, the ultimate subtle entity.
Whose wave is that infinite straight line?
Precisely. Then, through consistent deep ideation on that ultimate straightness, your own mental waves will gradually transform into a straight line. That's the point where sukham, Relative pleasure transforms into anandam, infinite bliss. It's aligning your finite mind with the infinite.
And this anandam, it's equated with Brahma, the ultimate reality.
Yes, anandam chahu anandam is Brahma. And this state, this Brahma, is characterized by that ultimate straightness, which means it's completely free from all crookedness, deception, cruelty, narrowness, hypocrisy, even things like rigid communalism or nationalism. All those negative, limiting things are seen as jara vikasa, imperfections or distortions of the material finite world. They belong to the realm of curved waves, not the straight line of Paramattva, the supreme truth. Anandam is pure, expansive, unified.
So reaching that state, it changes everything, your desires.
Completely. There's a saying, Tasmin upalabde paramat kresna nivritti, which means, upon attaining this supreme state, all cravings cease.
All cravings, what?
Because in this understanding, all waves, all finite experiences, all objects of desire ultimately originate from one single cosmic nucleus, the source of everything. When you establish yourself in that source, when you connect with that ultimate origin point, there's simply no longer any desire to chase any particular wave, any specific finite pleasure. You're connected to the source of all pleasure, all experience. It's the ultimate satisfaction, the end of that constant thirst, that wanting which drives the pleasure trap. You're already full.
Wow. The ultimate cessation of thirst. That sounds incredibly peaceful, but achieving it sounds like it requires immense effort, this desire for the great.
It does require effort. It's described as vradyasanam pradhanam kadharma. The desire for the great, vradyasanam, is crucial, but it has to be combined with pranidhan. Asana itself means an intense desire plus the active effort to attain it. It's not passive wishing, it's striving. And pranidhan is even deeper. It's when the mind becomes totally focused, pointed, on its object of ideation. All mental energy converges. Then, that focused mind gets suspended, absorbed into the object itself. It's similar to the state of samadhi, deep meditative absorption. Your mind doesn't just think about the object, it merges with it.
Like losing yourself in music, but infinitely more profound.
Exactly. When that object of intense absorption, that pranidhan, is paramatma, the supreme straight line, your mind takes on that quality. Your waves straighten. You attain anandam. This whole process, the intense longing for the infinite, coupled with that deep, focused absorption that is the ultimate antidote to the pleasure trap, it redirects our fundamental drive for sukha towards its infinite true form, anand.
Okay, so bringing this back to our everyday lives, navigating this world full of engineered pleasure, while maybe aspiring to something deeper like anandam. What does it mean practically? There seems to be this paradox. When everything's easy, nothing feels meaningful.
That's a really insightful observation. When pleasure is constant, effortless, genuine joy seems to become elusive.
And psychologists have found this too, right? Paul Bloom at Yale, he found that we actually need discomfort.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but his research suggests humans need discomfort, challenge, even voluntary suffering to feel fully alive, to experience meaning.
Think about marathon runners pushing through pain, mountain climbers facing extreme conditions, people who love incredibly spicy food.
Exactly. They derive profound satisfaction from overcoming difficulty, from voluntarily embracing struggle. Why? Because conquering challenges creates a sense of meaning and accomplishment that passive pleasure just can't replicate. It's earned.
That resonates with Viktor Frankl's experiences in the concentration camps too, doesn't it? Finding meaning even in horrific suffering.
Absolutely. Frankl observed that even in those unimaginable conditions, prisoners who found some purpose helping others, focusing on a future goal, holding on to love, they often endured better, psychologically, than those who lost all sense of meaning. It's a powerful testament, meaning trumps pleasure. It provides this robust alternative to just chasing dopamine. And this idea of embracing discomfort, it's not new. We see it throughout history. Different cultures found ways to resist being ruled by easy pleasure. The ancient Stoics, for example, they deliberately practiced voluntary discomfort, cold baths, fasting, simple living, sleeping on hard surfaces.
Not to punish themselves, though.
No, not as punishment, as training. Mental and emotional resilience training, preparing themselves for inevitable hardship, detaching from dependence on comfort. And modern science is catching up. Research shows that these kinds of deliberate challenges can actually increase your dopamine receptor sensitivity, meaning that by taking breaks from easy pleasure, by embracing a bit of discomfort, you reset your baseline. Then, natural, everyday pleasures feel more satisfying again. You appreciate them more. It makes the ordinary feel extraordinary again. Buddhist monks offer another powerful example. They spend years, lifetimes sometimes, learning to simply observe their desires without automatically acting on them.
Through meditation.
Through meditation, mindfulness, they watch cravings arise and pass away like clouds without getting swept away by them. It's not about suppressing desire, but understanding its impermanent nature and not being controlled by it.
And this actually changes the brain.
It literally rewires the brain. Meditation strengthens that prefrontal cortex we talked about, the seat of self-control and focus. It reduces activity in the parts of the brain associated with craving and compulsion. They aren't denying pleasure. They're mastering it, becoming its master, not its slave.
So Stoics, Buddhists, this isn't just ancient history. We see similar principles in some modern communities too, right? People pushing back against the constant flow of easy pleasure.
Definitely. Think about the Amish, consciously limiting technology to preserve their community values and way of life, or various religious groups that practice regular fasting. It's not just about religious observance. It builds willpower, clarifies intention, fosters gratitude. And you see it in the growing digital minimalism movement too. People choosing basic phones, strictly limiting screen time, curating their information diet.
Trying to reclaim their focus.
Exactly. They're consciously trying to preserve what many of us are losing: cognitive sovereignty, control over their own attention and mental space. In a way, they aren't behind the times. They might be ahead, showing us how to navigate the future without losing ourselves. They prove resistance is possible.
Okay, so the good news is you don't have to become a monk or join the Amish to start reclaiming this freedom, though maybe tempting sometimes. The starting point is closer to home. It begins with, well, brutal honesty about your own patterns.
Awareness is always the first step. You can't change what you don't see.
Right, so number one, track your pleasure patterns. Be a scientist of your own habits. Ask yourself, when do I reach for that quick hit? The phone scroll, the snack, the drink, the shopping site. What triggers it? Boredom, stress, loneliness. And then, importantly, how do I actually feel afterwards? 5 minutes later, an hour later? Does it lead to real satisfaction or just more restlessness?
Dr. Judson Brewer's work is fantastic here. He talks about observing habits with curiosity, not judgment. That curiosity itself starts to break the habit's hold. He calls it surfing the urge. You notice the craving, you feel it rise, but you don't automatically react. You just watch it peak and eventually subside. Each time you ride that wave without wiping out, you strengthen your self-control circuits. It's like building a muscle.
Okay, surf the urge. I like that. What's next? Number two, create friction. If Silicon Valley designs everything to be frictionless, easy, instant, do the opposite. Make those easy pleasures a little harder to get to.
Put some obstacles in your own way.
Exactly. Delete the really addictive apps from your phone's home screen. Maybe delete them entirely for a while. Keep your phone out of the bedroom, charge it somewhere else overnight. Use website blockers during work hours. Don't keep junk food easily accessible in the house.
Small hurdles.
Small hurdles that create a pause, a moment where your conscious brain can step in and make a choice instead of your autopilot just reacting. That pause is where freedom lies. Third strategy, cultivate flow activities. Remember Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's idea of flow?
Yeah, getting totally absorbed in something challenging but doable, losing track of time.
Exactly. Activities that are rewarding in themselves, not because you get likes or external validation for them. Like what? Creating art, playing music, building something with your hands, cooking, gardening, coding, solving a genuinely interesting problem.
Things that require focus and skill and give you that sense of accomplishment.
Right. They generate deep satisfaction, that eudaimonia we talked about, in a way that passively consuming shallow pleasures just can't. And finally, maybe the most important one, embrace meaningful struggle. Actively seek out things that are hard but worthwhile.
Lean into the discomfort we talked about earlier.
Yes. Set ambitious goals for yourself. Commit to mastering difficult skills. Learn a language. Get physically fit. Start a challenging project. Have those difficult conversations you've been avoiding. They build stronger relationships. Build something lasting.
These things rarely offer instant gratification, often the opposite.
True. But they offer something far more valuable in the long run. Genuine fulfillment. That feeling of having earned your satisfaction. Think about that story of James, the former gaming addict. 14 hours a day, totally numb.
Yeah, that was powerful.
He started small, just 1 hour a night with no screens, analog hour. Reading, talking, thinking. The withdrawal was intense. His brain screamed for stimulation.
It fights back.
It fights back hard. But he pushed through. He filled the time learning guitar, doing some woodworking, simple stuff. After 3 weeks, he said things started to change. Colors seemed brighter, music sounded richer. His natural reward system was healing, recalibrating.
Coming back online, essentially.
Exactly. 6 months later, he built furniture, learned songs, and he said, "I thought gaming made me happy. I was just numb. Real joy requires real effort." His story just shows it's possible. The effort pays off in ways cheap pleasure never can.
And that brings us to this ultimate paradox, really. When you boil it all down, limiting those easy, cheap pleasures actually enhances your capacity for real satisfaction. Choosing discomfort voluntarily builds resilience. Delaying gratification creates meaning. It flips the script entirely on how we usually think about finding happiness. Sometimes less is more, sometimes harder is better.
So Huxley's warning, it wasn't just about pleasure making us docile.
No, it was about what that constant, easy pleasure could steal from us. Our depth, our struggle, our very humanity, the things that make life rich and meaningful, even when it's difficult.
But unlike his fictional world, we still have a choice.
We still have choice. That's the crucial difference. We aren't programmed robots in Brave New World. We can choose a different path. Now, let's be real. It's not an easy path. Your brain, conditioned for years, will resist. It will scream for the easy fix. Society will push you towards conformity, towards more consumption. Ads will constantly promise happiness in the next purchase, the next click. Even friends might not understand why you're making things harder for yourself.
There's a lot of pressure to just go with the flow.
Huge pressure. But pushing back against that flow, navigating that resistance, on the other side lies something incredibly valuable. Autonomy, self-mastery, purpose, genuine freedom. Because true freedom isn't just doing whatever impulse pops into your head. That's often just enslavement to your most basic urges. True freedom is about wanting what truly matters in the long run, aligning your actions with your deepest values, choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term fixes, building a life that feels solid and meaningful from the inside out, one that doesn't need constant external validation or dopamine hits to feel worthwhile.
Like building a strong internal foundation.
Exactly. Remember what Pascal said. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
That hits hard today.
In our age of constant connection and stimulation, that simple ability to just be with yourself without distraction, it becomes almost revolutionary. In a world engineered to hack your attention, to exploit your psychology, thinking for yourself, choosing your focus, reclaiming your inner space, it isn't just smart, it's an act of rebellion, a profound act of self-liberation. #outro.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? A real deep dive into this pleasure trap, from the nitty-gritty neuroscience of dopamine and how our world is engineered for instant gratification.
Right, the dopamine economy.
Exactly, all the way to ancient wisdom on illusion, mistaking the bleeding gums for the juicy bone.
A powerful image.
And that profound spiritual quest for anandam, for boundless, true bliss, moving beyond just fleeting pleasure. We've seen how easily we can get caught, almost without noticing, enslaved by comfort. But also, crucially, the powerful, deliberate steps you can take to reclaim your life, your focus, your cognitive liberty. So here's our challenge to you, listening right now. Don't let this just be another piece of content you consumed. Don't just nod along and then move on to the next thing that pops up in your feed. Take one concrete action today. Just one. Make it small. Make it achievable. But make it real. Maybe it's deleting that one app you know wastes your time. Maybe it's skipping one habitual pleasure that leaves you feeling empty, that extra cookie, that next episode you don't even really want to watch. Or maybe, just maybe, it's finding 10 minutes to sit in silence. No phone, no music, no podcasts. Just you and your thoughts. See what happens.
Small acts of resistance.
Yeah, exactly. They compound. Small acts of resistance compound into massive change over time. You're literally rewiring your brain with every conscious choice against the current. Think about that restless feeling, that little hum of dissatisfaction or emptiness you might feel sometimes, even when you technically have everything you're supposed to want. Maybe that's not just a symptom of modern life to be medicated or ignored. Maybe that's not just depression, though it can feel like it. Maybe it's your soul, your deepest self, demanding something more, something real, more than just cheap substitutes for meaning. Answer that call. Start breaking the chains one small link at a time. Reclaim your life. The revolution isn't out there somewhere. It starts right now. And it starts with you. Your very next decision matters more than you probably realize. Choose wisely. Your future self is watching.